Well, I've been doing this channel for a while, and I've come to the realization that I've never really talked about FI, financial independence. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk about what is the definition of FI, financial independence. How do you figure out your number, that magic number that equals financial independence? And then I'm going to try and answer just very briefly, why should you even care? Hey everybody, it's David from David in Progress. So we talk about financial independence, retiring early, and living your best life now, all from the perspective of someone who is a real person out there actually trying to do it. And I tell you, it has been a very challenging year here in 2024, but I'm working my way through it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and I especially love the comments and the questions. So hey, let's get to it. So when you're thinking about retiring early, retiring, or financial independence, you're going to hear a lot of numbers. It wasn't that long ago that the famous financial guru Susie Orman was on one of the financial independence podcasts, and she said that saving up $2 million is nothing. And she says that if you are going to retire, especially retire early, you need $5 to $10 million minimum to be successful. $10 million. You know, I believe the average or the median household income here in the United States is around $78,000 or so. So for us normal folks, us median income, median household folks, how in the world can you expect us to save $5 to $10 million? I'm sure there's some people out there who have done it and are going to do it, but I'm certainly not one of those people. And financial independence is something that I have thought about for a very long time. I know I talk about retiring early, but I really think the key is focusing on that FI, that financial independence part, because it is what is required for everything else to happen and opens the world of financial freedom for you. So let's talk more about that FI part. What does FI actually mean? Well, I went out to our good friend AI and I asked that question. Please define financial independence for me. And here's what I found. According to AI, financial independence is when an individual or household has enough financial resources to cover their living expenses without having to work or rely on others for financial assistance. This could include having enough savings, investments, and passive income to cover essential expenses like housing, food, healthcare, and education. It can also mean having the freedom to choose how to live your life and spend your time, such as volunteering, traveling, or pursuing hobbies. That last part is kind of the win. You know, when you get to the point where you can have freedom, the big F word, that you can have freedom of your time, freedom of your choices, and you're not constrained by a traditional job, then you are financially independent. Now, what we're talking about here is you. What is your definition really of financial independence, and how do you figure out that number? Well, the very first thing that I believe you need to do to figure out the number is understand where you are now. You know, before you begin any journey, the first step is, where the heck am I now? And then you can map out where you want to go. And one of the first things that you want to do if you've never done this is figure out your net worth. And I Googled this one too, and a study that I found said 51% of people have no concept. They've never figured out their net worth. So what I'm going to do here is talk about how to do that and to do it in the most simple way. I'm all about simplicity. There are fancy tools out there to figure out your net worth. I highly encourage you to check those out. I'm just a Google Sheets kind of guy. I did this for many years and it is great. So here's what you want to do if you want to figure out your net worth. I'm going to pull up a little bit of example. The first thing you want to do is create a list of your liabilities. That's everybody, everything that you owe money to. These numbers that I have listed here for liabilities are based on the median liabilities of a household here in the United States. So mortgage liability, $378,000. Then I have an auto loan, a student loan, a credit card. So your normal person here in the United States, your median person, has $474,329 in debt. As someone who is 100% debt free, woo, that sounds like a lot, but that is fairly normal for most people. Assets wise, you want to do that next. So you figured out your debt and now you're going to add in your assets. This is a pretty typical numbers that I found when I looked up. Home equity, $28,000. Savings, the median American has about $8,000. Taxable investments, that's just like your stock, your mutual funds, or whatever that are not in retirement, $64,000. And for someone around my age in their 50s, the median retirement savings is listed as $134,000. So you take your total liabilities, that number, and then you also take your total assets, that number, and then do some math. And you can see in this particular example, this person has a negative net worth of $340,329. Now, for someone at a high income that also has high debt, that can be an oh wow, eye-opening moment. I got all this income going in, however, I'm also spending all this money on my debt. So in reality, I have a negative net worth. Well, don't fret if that's you and you have some time. You just came up with a fantastic goal, which is to reach zero net worth. And I can tell you, I did this many years ago, and it's really exciting when you cross that line. When you are negative and now you're zero, and then you're going to very quickly see that compounding effect where you're shooting up above that line and you become very positive in your net worth. So now you know your net worth. The next thing, which ultimately once you are retired or you're thinking about retired, is the absolute most important thing, is to figure out your expenses. I am not a budget person, but every now and then it's really important to sit down and just peel your budget open completely. And what I recommend to do this is to take, if you're not a budget person, is take 3 solid months and write down every single cent that you spend. Everything. You can use an app. The Ramsey Every Dollar app is pretty good. I did like that when I used it. For me, old-fashioned, remember my Google spreadsheet? I just write down in a notebook or on my phone every single thing that I spend. This is every single thing. And figure out for 3 months where everything is going. You're most likely, if you've never done this, going to be very surprised where your money is going. You'd be very surprised how much those $10 lunches add up over 3 months, or those dinners on the weekend, or that occasional impulse thing that you buy at Target. If you're not tracking it, you're not going to know about it, and you'll have a pretty good idea after that 3 months, down to a very granular level, what your expenses are. So you know your liabilities, you know your expenses, and now you can figure out how much am I going to need to cover my life. And once you have the expenses figured out, you can also look deeply into how much you are going to need to save to generate the income necessary to cover those expenses. I'm going to get real with you and share with you our family, our actual fixed expenses, so that you could see the minimum fine number that I felt like I needed, and here I am really doing it, to be financially independent and to make work optional. So we're going to pull this up. Now, in the FI world, the financial independence world, you're going to hear a lot about the 4% rule. I'm not going to go into details about that. You can Google it, or maybe I will put some links down in the description for some better videos about it. But basically, the 4% rule, I prefer to really think of it as a guideline. What it says is that if your savings reaches a certain level, if you withdraw only 4% of that over the rest of your life, at the time that you die or whatever happens, you're going to have the same amount of money, or in most cases, considerably more than you started doing that 4% withdrawal. Classic example is someone who needs $40,000 a year to live off of. They will need $1 million in savings in order to reach that 4% amount. So let's pull up and look at David in progress, what his budget is, and see what, using the 4% rule, he would potentially need to retire in the traditional definition of FI. This is what I call my fixed budget, meaning these are not a lot of wiggle room as far as being able to cut. And you'll see there's not a lot of categories. This is because I do things, I hate budgeting. I've done the 3-month thing. These are kind of guardrail budgets that I have a general idea of where we are, and I just kind of set the limit around up. So it's not like super, super deep detail like you might see from some other folks. Oh, well, the top line item is giving. It's important. It's important family value for us that we give. I truly believe that you can't receive anything that you're not willing to give away. That includes your time and your money. So it's important, especially if you end up retired or early retired, to be able to give away both your time and your money. Internet and our streaming services. If I really had to, I got just down to the internet, which is $58. And let's say I did no streaming if I cut that out completely. Our electric bill is $140 a month. We do an averaging thing, so it ends up being $140. So that's really set. So that's great. We use natural gas for our heat, our water tank, and then our dryer, and a few other things. And that I annualize because, of course, in the wintertime it's much higher, the summertime it's much lower. So annualized, it comes out to about $80. I am on a T-Mobile 55 Plus plan, kind of expensive at $100. I keep hearing from my YouTube friends about Mint Mobile and places like that where I could do cheaper, so I am considering that. City trash and water, $140. We live near a turnpike, so we're on that thing a lot, $40 a month. Gas, $300. Our annualized expense for auto insurance, you see there at $225. Groceries, there's just two of us, my wife and I, $600 a month. The two of us enjoy eating out, so I have a budget of $400 for that. Typically, that's we only go out on Friday and Saturday. Miscellaneous, those are those things that just pop up because something always does every month. You know, you have to buy some shoes or some extra expense pops up. Generally, that ends up being about $300, and I know that's something that potentially could cut. Our property taxes, we pay those once a year, but I have that annualized out at $157. You can see there what it is for the year. Medical. So hopefully you've watched my video that I did very recently about medical expenses and early retirement. In this particular case, the medical at $221, all I did in this particular case was I pulled up the first silver plan and put that dollar amount down. There's all kinds of different amounts. You can go as low as $0. You want to see my other video to see that, but we budgeted $221 at this income. And then I have my homeowner's insurance. I live in a disaster-prone area of the country. We have very high, at least I consider this high to be expensive for homeowner's insurance. So the grand total monthly expenses minimum essential expenses is $3,176 or $38,112 a year. And you can see there the estimated tax. So the FI number is $952,800. Now that is $38,112 times 25. So if you were doing the 4% rule and you had my budget, if you were at that dollar amount, that is how much you need in order to spend at a 4% withdrawal rate, and you're fine for the next 30 years. Here's the problem with that. That is a pretty big number, and that may not be the number needed. It could be considerably less. And here's why. I have an advantage. I'm in my 50s, late 50s, 57. So I'm just about 5 years away from Social Security. And my wife and I, whenever we qualify for Social Security starting at 62, it's close to $4,000 a month. And then look at that budget. Monthly expenses, $3,176. I'm gonna get a little more than that in Social Security if I start to take it at 62. I don't wanna do that. I want to delay it as long as possible. But in reality, there is a possibility that I could bridge between now and when I get into my 60s. And because I have such low minimum expenses, I would never need to do another withdrawal. So if you're someone sitting here in my seat with those expenses, you may not need $1 million. And you can see lots of people here on the internet, here on YouTube, that are living with far less than that. There are people, just Google it, you'll see living off $300,000, living off $500,000. The key is, this is unique to you. You are not me. You are not the person at 300,000. You're not Susie Orman at 10 million. You are you. You have to dig really deeply, find out what your estimated expenses are, when you might want to become financially independent, and then decide from there how much that you are going to need. These expenses are really super low. So just very quickly, I wanted to pull up, if you were someone else, not debt-free, David in progress, you're someone living that typical median household life here in the United States. So this is a bit of a shocker one. I'm gonna pull this one up and I'll go over very quickly because you can see it and highlight it. Here's the differences. I added debt. This is a person who, they're gonna expand their internet, they're gonna have some streaming services and all that, and this is about the median price people are paying. House payment. Blew my mind. I haven't had a house payment since 2014, and the median house payment right now is $2,167. Car payment blew my mind as well. I haven't had a car payment in close to 20 years. We always pay cash for our vehicles. $735. Credit card, actually that seemed kind of low given the current credit card debt we have in the United States. Once again, haven't had a credit card debt in many years. I do have a credit card, pay it off at the end of every month because I'm a big points guy, and that would be a whole nother video. And then student loan, the median student loan balance, someone who has a payment is $300. We're gonna skip all the way down. Look at the difference here in medical. So I went into the same place at healthcare.gov. I plugged in this annual expenses, and you can see that how much more it was for healthcare. Still getting a subsidy, which is pretty amazing at someone at about $90,000 getting the subsidy. And now look at their annual expenses. I didn't include taxes. Their annual expenses times 25 is $2,135,700. Compare that to the person with no debt at $952,800. The point of this here at the end is to demonstrate to you what an incredible difference it makes to have low expenses, which includes being 100% debt-free. The sooner you get debt-free, the sooner you are financially free, that financially independent. Yeah, maybe you want to have a lot of debt, that's fine. You just have to have a much bigger pile of money to cover that stuff. If you want to reach that 5 point, that financially independent point, that part where work is optional and you're just working because you want to, or you decide any day that, hey, maybe I don't want to anymore. The key is having the absolute lowest possible expenses, and the best way to have low expenses is to also have zero debt. Why is this so important? Well, everybody has a different why. You know, for me, my why 25 years ago was when I found out I had stage 4 cancer, and then years later when I found out I was going to be okay. That was my motivation for reaching financial independence. More recently, when I had my quintuple heart bypass surgery, I can tell you, I'm so very thankful for that decision 20 plus years ago, where I got motivated to be financially independent, and I have and still have this wonderful wife who was totally on board to do that too, to live simply and to seek FI in our life. Your why is completely different. My challenge to you here at the end is 2 things. 1, define for you what FI means. And then the next thing is define your why. Why would you want to even do this? Is it worth the sacrifices? And we'll talk about all that on a later video. So thank you for watching. I know I went through this quickly. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I would love to hear from you. You know, what is your motivation for financial independence? Are you trying to retire early? Are you just trying to have that bucket that you need to retire on the traditional on time and feel good? What are your thoughts? I would absolutely love to hear from you. So thanks for watching here at David in Progress. We appreciate you. You know, give me the thumbs up, leave a comment, all that stuff that everybody asks. And I just want you to know how very thankful I am for you and to have this opportunity for us to spend this time together. Thank you so much for watching.